Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Elle and today we're going to be doing a video that is actually inspired by Jess from Piece of Books, where she did a video recently where she listed 15 books that perfectly describe her taste in romance books. So I thought this was such a great idea, and a lot of other creators in the community have been hopping on this trend, so I will link their videos down below. But I thought that this was just such a great idea, and I think it's such a perfect way to confine my taste in books with some recs, but also this could be a video you can come back to if you want to see if our tastes in books align, or kind of give you a taste test of what are my favorite tropes, authors, etc. So let's get right into this video. The first book on this list is Ashes of You by Catherine Cowles. I am a hard small town romance stan. Like, I will ride hard for all of the small town romances. I just love them so much. Like, this book is symbolism for so many small town romances I love. Like, Catherine Cowles is one of my favorite small town romance authors. I also love Elsie Silver, Corinne Michaels, and just so many other amazing small town romance authors. So specifically, this is a recent favorite, and this is in the Lost and Found series. And I also love small town romances with some suspense in them. That's why I think I gravitate towards Catherine's books so much, because I just love how she mixes suspense in small town in such like a perfect way. Like, she just does such a great job with it. So this one is a age gap forbidden nanny single dad romance. So Hallie and Lawson have kind of a past together. Not that they were in a relationship, but something really bad happened to Hallie, and Lawson was there because he is actually the sheriff of the town, and now it is years later and she's coming back to the town to apply to be the nanny to his 3 boys, and he agrees kind of begrudgingly because he knows what she has gone through. And their romance is just so perfect. I just love everything about this book. I love, a tortured hero, and I love seeing so much healing on both of their parts. This book is fantastic. Love it so much. And I just love small town romances, and this series is perfect. And of course, there's a suspense element in this one with stuff that happened in Hallie's past. I don't want to talk about it because I feel like it's a really big spoiler, but just know the series is fantastic, and I just absolutely love Catherine Cowles. Then I knew I had to put a Kennedy Ryan book on this list because I am an emotional, angsty girly through and through. I love angsty romances. Like, they are some of my favorite romances. I love to be hurt emotionally, and Kennedy Ryan just does it like no other author. So I put Grip on this list. I recently finally listened to the rest of this trilogy on audio. I started Flow, which is kind of the novella and prequel to the series that I highly recommend reading if you're going to read this trilogy. And I just haven't read the rest of it for years because I knew it was going to be emotionally draining and just like hurt in the best way. But I was like, you know what, I have nothing else I want to read on audio right now. I have this on Hoopla, let me listen to it, and this was amazing. I love this book so much. It was perfection. I just love the way that Kennedy Ryan describes writing romance. She describes it in a way as a landscape for so many hard topics, but knowing there is an HEA at the end, and that's why she talks about so many hard things, and I just love that about her. So this one is a brother's best friend romance, mutual pining for years, kind of forbidden a little bit. So Bristol and Grip almost were a thing years ago, but something happened and Bristol just kind of felt a little bit betrayed by Grip, but she didn't get the full story of what happened. And now it is years later, and Bristol is the sister of Grip's best friend, and so she is actually a publicist and an agent, and both of them are in the music industry. So she comes to LA to start working and doing this company with her brother, and then that's when she's around Grip again. They have so much history, but she just doesn't want to go there again because she feels like she could be hurt really badly again. Like, she doesn't want to put her heart out like that. And so they have this like song and dance where you know, she might be dating someone and he's dating someone, but they like have such intense feelings for the other, and it is just so freaking good. I almost got to the point where I wanted to like throw my phone across the room while listening to this audio, like just stop being stupid and get together. And I love that when, you know, couples do that, and it was just so satisfying seeing them finally get together. And this is also an interracial relationship, and so there are a lot of complex topics that Kennedy Ryan delves into with this series surrounding race, racial profiling, police brutality. So I definitely checked the triggers for this series, but it is so freaking good. I loved it so much. So I love Kennedy Ryan. I love emotional romances. I'm not afraid of reading something that I know will be like bring me to tears. So I just love this author and this trilogy so much. Then I had to put a Penelope Douglas book on this list because she was one of the first romance authors that I really delved into, especially her backlist. So I put Cadence on this list. I do love so many of her books, but I just wanted to put Cadence on here because I'm also not afraid to read something that is really taboo or dark. Like, I love that in books, and this one is just so good. So the heroine has recently lost both of her parents. They died by suicide, and she is just on her own and does not know where her life is gonna go, like who she's gonna stay with, and she ends up finding out that she has a step uncle and they're not related, and she is sent off to go live with him in in Colorado, and his 2 sons, and they end up getting snowed in for the winter and doing very spicy things together. And this is a why choose, forbidden, taboo, hate to love romance. It is fantastic. I love it so much. I just love forbidden romances. I love things that push your comfort zone and, you know, just cross boundaries that you didn't think you were okay with happening. So I love this book, and I love Penelope Douglas. She is one of my favorite authors ever. I also had to put a Lorraine Heath book on this list because she is another favorite author. I love historical romances, and I feel like it is such an underrated genre. First of all, more people need to read historical romances because they are not that different from contemporary romances. Like, I feel like that's kind of the barrier for some people, that they feel like, oh, like I just won't love historical romances. But I swear, if you read one of the books I recommend, or any of the other creators on this app recommend, you will love a historical romance. You just have to find what you like. And for me, I love really angsty romances. So this is one of the more angstier romances that I ever read in historical romance wise, which was the Earl Takes All by Lorraine Heath. This is such an interesting, unique historical romance. So the hero and his twin brother went on a trip to Africa, and his twin brother ends up being killed by like an animal or something. And in his dying breaths, his brother told him, you need to pretend to be me so that my wife won't miscarry our baby, because she had miscarried before, and just the stress of it all would destroy her. So he goes back to England as pretending to be his twin brother, and they have a romance and fall in love, and it is so freaking good. It is so angsty, and I just love seeing that when she realized that she actually like fell in love with her husband's twin brother. It's just so good. I love this book. Lorraine Heath writes so many amazing romances. She is amazing. Definitely go check her romances out. She has so many great series. If you like darker romances, she has a totally perfect dark romance, historical romance series that is just amazing. I want more people to read historical romances because they are so underrated and they are so good. They are just as good as the contemporary romances. I could argue even better sometimes. So I love this author, and I just love historicals. Then I have Little Lies, which is another taboo, kind of angsty romance. Like, I feel like we're on a trend right now. So I had never read Helena Hunting until I read this book, and another thing about me is I love audiobooks. I got into audiobooks about 3 years ago, and I've just never looked back. I just love them so much. So this is a fantastic audiobook. I think that Jacob Morgan narrates this one. That might be a lie. I think he does. but this one is just so good. So the hero and heroine have been best friends for years when they were younger and growing up, but they were just way too codependent on each other, and their parents were like, we need to separate you guys. So they get separated, don't see each other for years, and now the heroine is coming to the college that the hero and her older brother go to already, and he just absolutely hates her guts, but she ends up having to live with him, and it is just really, really good, very angsty, so much tension, and he hates her, but he is also like looking out for her at the same time. And I just remember loving this so much. I love Taboo. Well, this isn't really taboo, but it's like brother's best friend, and there's another romance in the series that's more taboo, which is teacher student. And I just love angsty romances. I love audiobooks. This one is just perfection. Then of course I had to put a Sarah J Maas book on this list. I also love fantasy romances, so I did put A Court of Mist and Fury on this one. I just love, you know, fantasy romances. I think they're so good, and once you find an author that you really love and makes fantasy romances easy to read, you just get immersed in the story, and I feel like Sarah J Maas does that in such a great way. Like, some authors make it super confusing to get into a fantastical world, and I just love the way Sarah J Maas does it with her worlds. Like, I'm not confused, or if I am confused, it will be explained to me. So this is a series revolving around Fae, and this is just an amazing series. Love this one. This is more of a placeholder for just fantasy romances in general. Like, some of the others that I love are the like Crowns of Nyaxia series by Chris Broadbent. Like, I love the first book in the From Blood and Ash series, Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I just love fantasy romances, and I just love how the stakes are so much higher in fantasy romances. I'm just like thinking about some of my favorites, so I cannot wait for the next book by Lauren Roberts, Reckless. I'm so excited for that. But yeah, I'm a fantasy girly at heart, and I love fantasy romances. Like, I don't know, I just also love like, I just love like different worlds. Like, when I was younger, I was obsessed with the Divergent series. Like, Theo James, I have rewatched that movie so many times, and I just love it so much. So just love fantasy romances. Then I have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I wanted to include this one because I also do love to read books with representation of things that I connect to. So this book has really great anxiety representation, and I just love reading books that I can learn something from them. And like the Bergman Brothers series, a lot of the characters in that series have either different chronic illnesses, or one of the characters has autism. So I just really love learning new things and just, you know, reading books that will teach me things. And I just love Yours Truly so much because I also have anxiety, and the hero has anxiety, and I just felt like this was such a great book, and I just love how Abby Jimenez handled the anxiety representation in this book. So the hero and heroine do not get off on the best start. The heroine is kind of on her last leg. Like, she is just really struggling. She recently got out of a divorce, and her brother is actually going through kidney failure at the moment, so she is just so stressed out. And she really wants to get this new position at the hospital. She's a doctor, and then the hero comes in, and everybody's like, he's gonna get it, and she is just pissed off, and they do not have the best meeting. But they end up kind of forgiving the other from their first meeting, and they end up fake dating because the hero's brother is actually marrying his ex-girlfriend, and so he's like, I really need a date to this wedding, and the hero's doing something in exchange for the heroine. And this book is just so cute. I just loved it so much, and Zachary Weber narrates this one as well. He's just fantastic, and I just love this book so much, and I cannot wait for more Abby Jimenez romances. Then I wanted to include Sea of Ruin on here by Pam Godwin. This is a very dark pirate romance. So the heroine is a pirate. She took over as captain of her father's ship after he passed away, and she's actually on the run from her ex-husband, and she ends up getting captured by an English like pirate hunter guy, and is like kind of abducted and held captive. So she ends up, it's like captor-captive romance, hate to love, Forbidden, very angsty, super duper dark. This has a lot of triggers, so definitely check them. But I freaking love this book. I really want to do a reread of this one as well because I just have forgotten so many things, and I just loved Bennett, who's the heroine. She was just so headstrong and could give less of a you know what about anything, but she really is so fierce and protective, and I just loved her romances. Her romance in this one, it was just fantastic. I just love darker romances. Like, I'm not afraid to read dark romances, but I do not love, like, for example, I don't love like darker romances where I think this is a trigger for me, where it is like on page abuse of a minor, or you know, the heroine or whatever, hero. It just really bothers me. Like, I hated Sick Fucks by Tilly Cole because that had a lot of on-page abuse and sexual assault of the hero and heroine, both when they were like 11. So I did not like that one. But I do love dark romances when there is a purpose to the darkness, and this is just one of my favorites. I love it so much. Then I had to put a Gianna Darling book on here because I just love her so much. I love motorcycle romances. I feel like I've gotten into them more, especially this year because of Ashley Munoz's new series. And this is just one of my all-time favorites in the Fall Men series. So this is a Friends to Lovers, Forbidden Hcap romance. So the hero and heroine have known each other for years. They basically grew up together, and but they've just never crossed that line of being together until now-ish, and it is just such a great romance. I love this one. I just love Gianna Darling's writing, and she's just a fantastic writer. And then I had to include Centner by Sierra Simone because this is another great taboo romance. I love the taboo and forbidden romances. I just love them so much. So the hero and heroine meet at this like gala for the hero's work, and he's just so intrigued by the heroine and is like, who is this woman? And so the next day he finds out that their company is going to tear down a monastery, and so he has to go talk to one of the nuns to like get it figured out, and that ends up being the heroine. And he also realizes that she is the little sister of his best friend from his childhood, and so they end up striking a deal that they would, you know, hang out and do anything they want for a month until she becomes a nun, like officially. And it is just such a great romance. Like, it's very angsty because you don't know what she's gonna choose. Like, she wants to become a nun. She has been wanting that for most of her life, and it's a goal of hers, but she also really loves the hero, and I just love that. I just love that about this book. The audio for this one, Jacob Morgan narrates it, and it is just fantastic. I just love forbidden and taboo romances. I have another Gianna Darling romance on this list just because I love her so much, and this is another trope that I am obsessed with, and I just love it so much, which is mafia romances. So this is When Heroes Fall. It is a mafia romance, of course, and the heroine is a lawyer, and the hero is actually being framed for a murder he didn't commit. He is a very famous Italian mafioso in New York, and the heroine is put on his lawyer team, and she just absolutely detests him. She actually grew up in Italy, and she just had a really bad past in childhood with the mafia there, so she just wants nothing to do with him and, you know, his mafia stuff that he's up to, but he is just so obsessed with her, so intrigued by her, and he ends up being put on house arrest, and she has to stay with him. So it's forced proximity, hate to love, and it is just a fantastic romance. I love this one. I love mafia romances because I feel like they're so action-packed. They have the suspense element, the life or death elements that I also love in fantasy romances, but they're modern, and I just love that. So this is one of my favorites. I also love the Twisted series by Cora Riley. That one's really good as well, and the one series by Brutal Birthright series by Sophie Lark. Just love all of the mafia romances. Then I had to include QB Tyler on this list, which is Forget Me Not. This is another emotional, this one is super emotional actually. Like, it is just tear out your heart and stomp on it emotional. Like, I remember crying reading this book in May of last year because I was like, this is just so sad. So The hero and heroine have been married for years, but the hero ends up cheating on the heroine and they end up getting a divorce, or are in the process of getting a divorce. But the hero gets in a car accident and he doesn't remember the last 2 years of their life of them not being together. So it's like an amnesia romance, and she's like, we are broken up, and he's like, no, like I would never cheat on you, and she's like, you did. So it's just so good. It's so good. I love this one so much. I love all of the angst and tension and emotion. They both have to heal from what they have put the other through. And it's just a fantastic romance. I love this one. I love angsty emotional romances. This is my kryptonite. I just love it so much. Then I had to put The Bully on here by Sophie Lark. If you know me, I absolutely love Sophie Lark. The Kingmaker series, I think I love it even more than the Brutal Birthright series. I just think it's fantastic. So this series revolves around a university that is dedicated to the sons and daughters of famous like mafia leaders around the world. So they go to this university and train to become, you know, mafia leaders in their own mafia. So the hero is actually going to be the next like mafia leader in like Russia or something, and the heroine is training to be a spy, and the hero ends up seeing her do something that she was not supposed to do, like a very bad no, and he is holding it over her head. And this is a bully romance, and this is one of the best bully romances I've ever read. Normally I don't love them, but I just love the way that this one is done. It is just absolutely fantastic. I love Dean. This is also Sophie Lark describes this one as like, what did she say? She said as a redemption story for Draco Malfoy, and I feel that to my core with this one. It's just so good. It's so good. I just love it. I love it so much. I do love a good bully romance, like Untouchable by Sam Mariano. Love that one. This one's just so good. Just go read it if you haven't. It's fantastic. Then I had to include Still Beating on this one. This is another dark romance that I just adore, but this actually has a very niche trope that I love, which is like in a relationship with someone else or engaged to someone else. So the heroine and hero have to test each other for as long as they've known each other. The hero is the fiance of the heroine's sister, and so on the night of their engagement party, the heroine is kind of one of the last ones to leave, and she ends up trying to get Dean, the hero, to like pick her up and drive her home, and he's like no, but then he agrees, and they end up getting in a car accident. And the person that, you know, got in the car accident with them ends up kidnapping them. And they're put in his basement for 2 weeks and have to do unimaginable things to each other and bear witness to things, horrible things that are done to each other. And they end up getting out of that situation, but they have a lot of trauma bonding. And, but it's way more than that. They're like realizing they have real feelings for each other. And this book is just so beautiful. It's so just emotional and like angsty and just so beautiful. I love this one. Just fantastic. I love a good, like, we can't be together but we want to be together so badly. I just love that in books, and this one does it perfectly. The next romance on this list, in the last one, I was supposed to say it earlier but forgot. Like, I totally skimmed past it, and it is Manacled. So this is a Hermione fanfiction, which is Draco Malfoy and Hermione Granger fanfiction, and it is so freaking good. So this is in a world where Harry Potter did not win the war against Voldemort, and this is also in a world where Voldemort basically, you know, is the leader of the wizarding world, and he has set up this program, this breeding program, where he will give muggles, or I don't think it's muggles, I think it's like mudbloods or just lower wizards, to his men to, you know, breed and have a baby with them. And so Hermione was a part of the Order, which is the army that, you know, Harry Potter had, and she actually ends up getting captured by Voldemort, but she doesn't remember anything of like the war or anything like that. So he ends up giving her to the High Reeve, which is Draco Malfoy, to basically have him have a baby with her so that she can get her memories back and they can get information out of her. But this story is so much more than that. It is a beautiful story. I can't say too much because it is major spoilers. Just know it is so freaking good. I love this book to my bone. I love fan fiction. I'm actually reading Secrets and Masks right now and really liking it, and that one's like 27 hours long. It's showing on my Kindle, but just fan fiction is so good, and I love Draco and Hermione. Their romance is just amazing. Like, he would do anything for her, and it is just incredible. I love it so much. This one's so amazing. If we align on our taste, let me know, because I love this one so much. All right, well, that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed hearing me chat about all of the books that I feel like define my taste in romances. Definitely down below, let me know if you agree with some of these, or what are your favorite tropes, because I would love to know. And I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.
I was never the one to write up a song for just anyone. I was always the one to find myself lost in long conversations, oh, 'cause I've always been told that things will unfold if you